Any external work that really impacts humanity is fueled by an ideal. It's fueled by an archetype. Michelangelo here. In this video, we're going to be talking about archetypes. Yes. And by the end of this video, you will understand how to use an archetype. So if you haven't subscribed already, you should definitely do that because it makes me feel so much better about myself. Just playing. I'm in a playful mood today. It's an archetype I'm channeling. If it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. So with that being said, let's get into archetypes. So what is an archetype? An archetype is essentially a framework within human consciousness that is innate to the species. Just to give you a super crystal clear 4K HD understanding of what an archetype is so you could explain it to your grandmother at the next family gathering dinner is, for example, when a rodent is born, like a baby squirrel. If you put a baby squirrel out into a field and there's an eagle that casts a shadow, or a big bird that casts a shadow that flies above that baby rodent, automatically that little infant mammal will look at the shadow and run and hide. It doesn't need to be learned. This is something that is innate to that species, to the collective consciousness of that species. That infant can detect shadow and correlate shadow to danger. So there's an archetype of the villain, or the adversary, or the predator, if you will. That symbol is laid in or imprinted into the consciousness, the psyche. And so this applies to human beings, obviously. The mother archetype, the king archetype, the lover, the warrior, these are all very, very famous, influential archetypes. But now what I want to point you guys to is, because you know we like to swim in the deep end on this channel. I like to give you guys the esoterics, the internal teachings, the things that you need to spend 10 hours and smoke 4 joints to find on the weird side of YouTube. That's the type of information we're going for. Right, Jade? That's my dog, Jade. Ideals are also archetypes. Ideals to move towards. An ideal of freedom. An ideal of divinity. An ideal of morality. These things move us on a very deep fundamental level. When you begin to tune into an ideal, it grows. Just like you water the seed for a plant and you give it light, you give it the awareness of your consciousness, attention, and devotion. It grows. The plant will grow. Same thing here. If you have an ideal within you to be in integrity with your word, to do what you say when you say it, that will grow and it will become a part of your character. And the ideal of integrity will become a living, pulsing force within your own soul. And this is so powerful, guys, because this is laying your treasures up in heaven. It was said in the Bible to not lay all of your treasures up on earth because they will rust. We need to also cultivate and lay our treasures in heaven, in the realms of the eternal. This is not something religious. I just used a scriptural reference and I totally butchered it. But this is just pointing to a truth of the human soul. There are capacities that you can cultivate, invisible capacities that last for an eternity, because we are immortal beings. There is a part of us that slumbers, a divine aspect of ourselves that is eternal, that is not transitory, that does not grow or decay in the physical sense. It always was, is, and always will be. And when we can begin to focus on these things, when we can begin to expand the ideals that our soul can ground down and anchor into and hold, we are sending out ripples into eternity, my friend. We are doing the work that will last lifetimes, the eternal work. And this is what fuels our more transitory endeavors in the physical world. Any external work that really impacts humanity is fueled by an ideal. It's fueled by an archetype. Think of the greatest, biggest names in history, no matter who they were. Just to go off the scriptural lens, let's take Jesus, probably the biggest, most influential figure to ever walk the earth. Whether he did or did not exist, which I firmly believe he did, does not matter. The ideal of Christ and what this person, what this soul represented, it's so strong in the human psyche that it is a living force of the soul. And that is why it's still around today, why still so many people draw so much power from that lineage, from that tradition, from that ideal, is because it is now a living force, an eternal force in the soul. So how we can begin to use archetypes, guys, is start to view them as ideals. View them as the invisible building blocks that create and build our souls, that build our eternal, immortal bodies. And so then we can begin to align our lives and prioritize our lives to the eternal and not the transitory, to not be swept away by this culture of materialism and who has the most followers on Instagram. Guys, this is how we can start to bring real meaning and depth and divinity and power, true power. All it comes from the ideal realm, because that realm is closer to source. That realm, it's the heavenly realm. This is the realm, this is where we access the divine within us. This is where we access the creator. We can access the divine mind, if you will. It happens through ideals. This is what the great mystery traditions of humanity did. They were taking their attention away from the material physical realm and putting it on the eternal, on the realm of ideals. And we have lost, as human beings, we've actually lost the capacity to directly perceive that realm. So the way we access the spiritual realm now, we have to access it through a proxy. We have to access it through thinking. We begin to think about these ideals that we desire to embody, and we begin to water them with our awareness, and they grow into living forces that can be deeply felt and eventually perceived. These ideals or archetypes, they're actual universal principalities. They're autonomous energies or entities of their own right. Okay? And so this is opening us up to a broader perspective and understanding of what it means to be a human being. And so my invitation for you, like, how can you take something from this video and actually begin to take some steps and walk a new path, walk in a deeper way in this life, so you're not just watching another YouTube video that turns into a mental masturbation. It's not just information, but it's actually something that can transform you. You have to touch the ideal. And so my question to you, what do I stand for? Get a journal, and I want you to write this at the top of the page. What do I actually stand for? Zooming out to view this from the eternal and not the transitory realm. What does my soul actually stand for? What am I here to ripple out into the universe, to embody, to be a vessel of, and a vessel for? What am I actually going to stand for here? And to go from a top-down approach. And then you could take this into a more bottom-up and look at your day-to-day life and see, okay, what needs attention here? What do I need to look at? Where are my values? What are my priorities? We're making a list of essentially values here. And these values will point us to ideals. They'll point us to the ideals that we want to water, and we can begin to cultivate that archetype within our own soul so it can become a living force within us. This is what fuels, this is fanning the flame. This is what actually fuels movement. This is what actually fuels change and transformation. It comes from an ideal, from an archetype, okay? So I want you guys to take something from this. That's the whole purpose of this channel. Not to just watch things, but to actually take it in and let it soak into your being and measure it against your own understanding of reality. Not to just take something hook, line, and sinker because I said it or someone else said it. And when you have your own set of ideals that have been cultivated through your own free will, you'll be able to take in information and measure it against that. This is how you have your own internal compass to be a sovereign being. So let this sink in. Let this sink in family. This is Archetypes and how you can use them. My name is Michelangelo. If you have not subscribed, please do. I would love to have you as a part of this community. Drop a comment. Let me know it landed. I'm here to talk. Let's have a conversation about this, and I will catch y'all in the next video.